Hello everyone, welcome to today's training video. My name is Tyler Lago. I'm the Program Development Specialist for Engineering here at GCU. We're about to give you some training videos regarding the engineering shops, the Lopes Labs. And these are great labs for students to work on extracurricular projects as well as course projects. And John, our lab manager, his office is 135. He's the one that runs the show, but his student workers and staff are also phenomenal at training our students of how to utilize the equipment safely and effectively. These are open from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. and our lab staff is here to train our students of how to utilize this equipment safely and effectively. And so you can actually find their schedules on the pillar next to John's lab.
So this is the metal lathe. Just some basic safety stuff. Don't touch it while this thing is moving. It'll grab whatever you touch in there. Don't touch it while it's moving. If you're using coolant, which comes out of this little thingy, make sure this little door is closed. Make sure nothing gets sprays out. This little door will kind of protect you from everything. And don't touch chips. All the little metal stuff that is right here in the bin, don't touch that because it can be razor sharp, it can be hot, it can be contaminated. This is kind of the control panel where you interact with everything. It'll turn it on, it'll turn it off. You can do some simple programming stuff, some tool changers, that's about it to the lathe. I mean, it's pretty simple. This is our Hoskin CNC. It's fully computer controlled. It can do 3-axis and up to 4-axis right now with what we have. Generally, just if you're not trained to use it, don't touch it. It's an expensive piece of equipment. It's like industrial grade and you have to be specifically trained to actually use this. So this is the horizontal bandsaw. Whenever you're doing something, make sure you clamp down your work with this little handle. You know, it'll stick your piece here. Get ready to cut it. Don't stick your fingers under the blade. It's designed to cut meat. It will cut your finger off without thinking twice. And don't touch anything until the blade stops. When you're cutting something, just let it drop. It will drop into the bin or on the floor and it'll turn the blade off automatically. And use the hydraulic feed, which is located here. It'll lower the blade for you automatically to set rate. Don't try to just handle it by hand. You're going to break the blade by doing that. And then use coolant, which comes out of this little nozzle. There's a pump that turns on right under here. And whenever you're done, clean up any parts that you left laying around. The chips can stay in the chip bin to try to take any parts out. This is our vertical bandsaw. Whenever you're using this, make sure you don't touch the blade when it's on. Again, this is designed to cut meat, so it will cut your thumbs and fingers off without thinking again. Don't have your fingers in line with the blade. There's a line going down the middle of the table. Don't put your thumb there. Keep it to the side, keep it tucked in. Whenever you get the chance to use push sticks, we'll have push sticks around to help you kind of get your material in through the blade, away from your fingers having to be near it. And just watch your thumbs. Most people like to hold a piece of metal like this where their thumb's in line with the blade. Just try to tuck that thumb in to make sure you're not going to cut your thumb off. So this is our metal mill. It cuts metal with the end mill that comes out of this thing. Whenever you're cutting stuff, use a chip guard to prevent chips from going everywhere or hitting you. They can be hot sometimes. Don't remove the vices. They're in there. They're square. Generally just tighten and loosen them. Don't try to remove them from the table unless you're with someone that's telling you to do. Same thing with the lathe. Don't touch any of the chips. They can be kind of sharp. They can be hot. They're covered in oil. Just don't touch them. Try to knock them away with a paintbrush or something like this. Don't drill or mill into the vices. These are kind of expensive, and if you mill into them, it marks up people's work. It could be yours, it could be other people's after. Don't mill into the table too. I mean, you shouldn't be anywhere near the table since the vise is here, but generally just try not to mill into it, because once you get in there, there's no going back. And if you break something in here, stuff breaks, just tell somebody. Don't touch anything while it's spinning either. Same thing with the lathe. Here's your control panel. Your touch buttons here. You can turn it on and off. If anything bad goes happen, hit the big red button. So this is the drill press. Whenever you're using the drill press, make sure you clamp down your work in a vise or with clamps on the side of the table. Make sure your work doesn't spin out of control. Take off any jewelry that's on your hands. Watches, anything that can get caught by something spinning. Roll up long sleeves, again, try not to get caught in anything. And whenever you turn it off, just don't touch anything until it stops spinning. It's pretty simple, clamp down your work, go down, go up, and then turn it off and wait for the thing to spin down so you don't get caught. This is our cold saw. It cuts things cold, like the name says. It's a lot better than the bandsaw. It cuts things straighter, it cuts things quieter. Basically, you put your piece of material in here, you can clamp it down close-ish, and then you push the foot pedal, and it clamps down your material hydraulically. And then, you pull the trigger and you pull it down and you start cutting your material. And then once it's done, you push this little yellow button, and it'll release your material again. Your hand should always be either on the trigger and at your side, so you're not getting your hands near that spinning blade. Pretty simple. If anything goes bad, you can hit the emergency stop right here. Generally, when in doubt, you think something's going bad, just hit that. Whenever you're done, the coolant disconnects and can be used to spray down the machine to get rid of chips all over it. Just make sure to flush them to the bottom and then vacuum them out so that the machine is clean for the next person that uses it. This is where our toolbox, where all our hand tools are located. You can find drill bits, wrenches, a lot of things in here. Basically, generally, if you get something from here, make sure it goes back. All of our drawers are shadow boxed, so they all have a home to go into. Like we can see real fast that we're missing one already, but all of them are labeled. Whenever you take it out, it has a label that matches what's on the handle. So you know exactly what you pulled out and where it goes back in its home. So whenever you're done, make sure you just put everything back in your toolbox and not to get hit by the door. And we'll all be having a good time.
So here we have our wood shop drill press. This is just like the one in the main shop. Again, up and down. Use the key in order to tighten everything up, make sure it's in. Usually with wood, you probably want a face guard. Just turn it on per usual. Once you go up and down, make sure to wait until it stops fully so that you don't accidentally cut yourself while trying to remove your piece or accidentally bump it and then you're in pain. You can of course use this in order to adjust your spindle speed if it's going too slow or too fast. And of course you can adjust the bed using knobs on the side. So right here we have our vertical bandsaw. This one works just like the one that was in the main shop. Again, just push your piece through. You can adjust the height of it using the knobs on the side. Again, keep your thumbs tucked in whenever cutting. You always want to make sure that you do that so that you don't accidentally get hurt or that you do any damage to the blade itself. So we have our miter saw here. So what you do with your miter saw is that you want to make a miter cut. Usually you'll put your piece here and then you'll lower it, pulling the trigger. What you want to be careful of is that you don't want your thumb or your hand in the way. You will cut yourself if you do that. So keep it back, usually tuck your thumb back so that you don't accidentally do anything. Of course, you can also change the angle in which you're going. So this can move back and forth using this, set it in place. And you can also change on the side here. We also have other ways. So if you want to get like a 30-degree cut, you can get that, pretty simple enough. Make sure to go kind of slow when cutting this. Don't go all at once. You can actually get it caught or the blade can get damaged. And you may not get the cut that you actually wanted. So right here we have our table saw. Now with our table saw we can do two different types of cuts. Of course we have the miter cut and then we also have other cuts that can go with the grain. The big thing that you want to be careful about is with the safety. You want to make sure that you push your piece all the way, either by using the push bar or by using this little stop rail. So it can measure different items. You want to cut all the way through, and once you cut all the way through, turn it off. There's a small switch on the side for safety and whatnot as well. And always make sure to keep yourself back. That way, if anything does get caught at any point, you're okay. Never use both of these at the same time, because if one will hit the other and then your piece will catch. So right here we have our wood lathe. So what this is used for is for long pieces of wood. So like for table legs and whatnot, you can create different things like that. All that you want to make sure is that you adjust. You can adjust how thick it is, place it in, make sure that it's always tight. That way your piece doesn't fall off or anything. Whenever using the tools they're providing the cabinet, you want to make sure you have a firm grip on them, because if it slides, it will either hit your piece or it could possibly hit you. Always watch for the RPM that's set. Of course, that can be set. If you have any questions about this while using it, always ask a shop worker. We're here to help you. So we have the ShopBot right over here. So the ShopBot does wood CNC, so you can program it using the computer. We have VCarve on there. So what you do is you take your design, input it into VCarve, you design it how you want, and then you send it to the shop bot. In the shop bot, what you do is that you have your piece of wood that you place here. You set the spindle speed for each tool. Make sure to re-zero it every single time. The main point that you want to do for here is that you want to stay with it all the way through, because if anything wrong happens while using the shop bot, so like if it doesn't cut properly or it catches and it starts breaking the actual bit, you need to be there so that you can stop it, hopefully prevent that, and to make sure that you stay safe as well. Right here we have our sandblaster. What you usually do is that you take your piece, you insert it in, you close it down, make sure that you lock it because we don't want any sand to come out. You then turn it on, let the gloves inflate, and then you spray your part. Once done, open it back up, pull out your piece. Usually it'll have a nice little sandblast. Of course, here's the nozzle for when you're spraying. Make sure that if anything happens, let a shop worker know. That way we can see what's going on. Sometimes it'll get clogged, so always ask us if anything goes wrong. So we have our joiner right here. Usually this is used for trying to make sure that two pieces of wood can join properly, so you would face off a side. This one's extremely dangerous because the blade will move. That's why we have this safety here. You can adjust on the side how high it is. You usually want to use 2 of our push sticks. So you take them, put them over your piece, take a firm stance and go as far as possible, cut all the way through. Make sure about that. Big thing is that you want to make sure that you keep yourself back, because if you do fall forward, that blade will cut you. So we want to stay extra safe, make sure that nothing bad happens. So this is our spindle sander. If you turn it on at the bottom, what will happen is that this will go up and down and it will turn as well. So for different items, you can sand your piece. You always want to be careful to keep your hands away from it because you don't want to actually get sanded, so you'll kind of do this. If you have a different size that you're going for, you can always go for a different size. Just make sure to keep your hands back, and of course, stay safe, always wear stuff, and clean up as usual. Use a vacuum like the one we have right here to make sure that everything is good to go.
Welcome to our sheet metal and finishing shop. This is the shop where we work on large pieces of sheet metal that are thin, and we do finishing projects like measurement. This is a stomp shear. You can use this for cutting very large pieces of very thin sheet metal very easily with relatively precise measurement. The large features of this machine where safety are concerned is to keep your hands and fingers clear of the cutting equipment and moving parts. You want to stomp firmly when using this and not gently, because you really want to go through the metal one time. Please consult our shop workers like myself before using this piece of equipment. Over here we have a laser cutter. This machine is very capable. We can do anything from engraving to even cutting all the way through some certain materials like thin plastics and wood. Again, please consult our shop workers for using this machine. Basic safety, as there is a laser involved, so always observe basic laser safety. And it can catch on fire, so you want to be careful where that's concerned. This is a spray painting booth. The big rules here are, of course, hazardous fumes. You want to be sure that this hood is on and that you are wearing the proper equipment when you are spray painting, and always let us know when you're going to be spray painting. We need to know because there are hazardous fumes, flammable materials. But other than that, it's basically an open book. We've got spray paint equipment, we've got blowers, we've got air, so all the equipment you need for doing spray paint work. Over here we have an anvil. It's heavy, be careful. This is a bead roller. If you're going to be using this machine, you'll probably have more direct consultation. Moving on, over here we have a CMM, which is a high precision measuring device. We can use this probe to get highly accurate probing measurements of parts that we've made, say in machining, or however, if we want to measure something for reconstructing it. This is a highly accurate piece of equipment, very well calibrated. We ask that you do not use or come near this piece of machinery unless you have special clearance, permission, and training, and have certain special use cases. Over here, that I just missed, we have our soldering and electrical workstation. This is just for basic electrical work where you need to do things with signal generators and soldering equipment. It's basically just a general purpose workstation for electronics. Over here we have a hole punch. This hole punch is basically one of a very capable tool for punching holes. A lot of use cases that you may think you need to do with drilling can actually be accomplished with this machine pretty easily. It's actually pretty safe. All you need to do is make sure you keep your fingers clear of the moving parts. You have a bunch of different reels and a bunch of different hole sizes that you can cut with it. Very capable piece of equipment. Moving on, we have the box brake. The box brake is a very capable piece of equipment that you can use for bending precise angles in sheet metal. The basic safety of this machine is to keep your fingers and hands clear. It is a very heavy machine, it will win. You don't want to clamp your fingers, you don't want to bend your fingers, you want to be bending sheet metal. If you have other intentions with it, make sure you contact us first. Again, general rule for all the equipment is that you seek training before use and notify us that you're going to be using it. Moving on, we have the last installation of this shop, which is the Beverly shear. The Beverly shear is another great piece of tool kit that you can use for precisely cutting pieces of sheet metal or other materials. You can cut much more accurately with this than you can with that. This is for cutting large straight lines. This is if you want to follow certain straight features. Basically, always make sure you have this safety up in place when you're not using it, and keep your fingers clear of the moving parts. Thank you.
So right here we have our MIG welder. So a MIG welder is used for usually for harder metals such as steel and whatnot. It's an automatic feeder, so it will feed in. We do have a small little set of tables back here, within here. So usually what you'll want to do is double check here. You will judge the voltage and the feed rate. Always make sure that your gas is on whenever using it. And as soon as you're done using it, make sure to turn it off. If you ever have too much feed, we have clippers on the side here. And remember, always wear the welding jacket and helmet along with your glasses. The main reason why is because sometimes sparks will fly underneath your mask and will hit you in the eye if you're not careful. So the glasses provide an extra layer of protection. So right here we have our TIG welder. So TIG, this one is a self-feed. So right here we have a different tip. What happens is with this one is that you usually use it for like aluminum-based materials, some that are lighter. Again, turn it on, turn it off. Usually you will have a rod in your hand, such as one of these. You always want to make sure that you're being careful whenever doing this. It can get very hot if you're not careful. We do have a small pedal in which you will use in order for the feed. Again, just make sure that you're using it properly. If you have any questions, let a shop worker know. We can help guide you with these sorts of things and to make sure that you get the best weld from what you want. So right here we have our plasma cutter. Over here we actually have the main machine. Make sure to always ground your piece whenever you have it in there. That way when it makes a cut. Right over here we have our main console area. Usually you'll want to save your components using a NC type file. For the most part, ask a shop worker for help on these so that you can learn along with us, because some of this can get complicated. And if you have a lot of cuts, we want to make sure that you know what you're doing. So right here we have our plastic injection molder. For the most part, most of you won't be using this just because this is a very complicated machine and the actual molds to get this cost a lot of money. You can only use it if you have your own mold. For the most part, just leave it alone. If anything randomly beeps or there's an issue, let a shop worker know or let the manager John know. That way we can see what's going on and try to fix it.
So just some important reminders. It's important to understand that the student workers are here to help you out with your projects. So if you have any questions, ask one of them or even the shop manager, John. Make sure that you use tools and machines that you know how to use. If you do not know how to use the machine or tools, ask a shop worker for help to show you how to use the basics when it comes to this machine. Remember that other people are using the shops, and if you see a tool that you want to use but is placed near someone in their project, please ask to use it before you just take it. Always remember to clean up after you're done, and ask the shop workers to double check your cleaning before you leave. And as well, if you do not follow these rules of the shop, you may be asked to leave for a short time and further action will be decided. Thank you so much for coming into the shops, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. You can finish filling out the paperwork and have the shop worker look all over it. And so again, thank you so much and have fun building.